Let me say this real quick. You're not going to win by doing it all alone. And I don't care how smart you are, how creative you are, how much drive you've got. You need people. And if you don't learn how to collaborate, how to partner in a world that rewards selfishness, you'll either burn out or you'll get left behind. And that is not what we want. Trust me. I've worked with multinational companies all around the world. I've been the lawyer, the strategist, the builder, and I've even partnered under ByteBow with people across tech, media, and education everywhere. And the one thing that I can tell you is true is that you absolutely need people. You need to learn how to partner and how to collaborate. And the power in building something isn't about going solo. It's about building in the right circle. People who challenge you, people who push you, people who support you, they elevate you. And what you actually build, you want to build something real and not just ride the wave. You want to build something that has impact. And today we're all talking about that. But before we get into that, I'd even say that there's another truth to all of this. In addition to partnering, you also need to know when to walk away. And that's because not every business relationship is meant to last. Sometimes protecting your vision means cutting ties. So, today I'm sharing lessons from my own journey in building ByteBow and how I went from leading legal teams at major corporations to starting ByteBow in Dubai and what collaboration has really looked like along the way. And we're back. So we love the idea of self-made success story. We love the idea of this lone genius, this person like people look at Elon Musk and they think he's this lone genius who's just out building rockets and electric vehicles in his room. But behind every overnight success is a network. There's a group of people behind those ideas, people who shape the vision, who open the doors, and people who have offered hard truths. And so let me tell you a story about how I experienced this firsthand. When I was working in corporate, when I was leading legal strategy and legal compliance at a certain company, I had to work across departments, cultures, languages, particularly the Chinese culture and language. And I had to navigate my coworkers in that way as well. And it taught me quickly that collaboration isn't optional. It's the key to scaling impact. When I was in Shanghai working in that company, I had to really get to the point where I could trust my colleagues and they could trust me. I was from a totally different background from the US. They were all from China, but I needed them and they needed me. And I could have just powered through with this idea that I knew everything and that my legal expertise was the best. But no, I built a coalition with local experts, with government relations specialists, with people who understood the culture better than I did. And this team approach didn't just solve the problem, it created a blueprint that saved millions of dollars in fines and penalties. I think about the story of Sarah Blakely of Spanx. Okay, Spanx. Everyone sees the billionaire founder, but her real genius, it's probably knowing when to build and bring in manufacturing experts, retail specialists, and even leadership that could scale what she started, right? It's not just one person that is building an empire. Fast forward to ByteBow, where I am today, and starting from scratch in Dubai with a new market, a totally new mission that to me seems like it's evolving all the time. Guys, when I first came here, I didn't know anyone. I had to build trust, I had to build credibility, and a tribe from the ground up. I didn't do that by showing off. That's not what this is about. I did it by reaching out to people that could help me, people that had things that I didn't have, connections I didn't have. I also did it by listening, right? Offering value and creating a space for other people to shine. And I really think that we've gotten away from that in business. I really think that many people think being a founder is about being the leader, but it's not. In the early days, I partnered with three local women entrepreneurs and we created these pop up workshops. They had the audience and I had the expertise. Together, we reached over 300 people in 2 months, something none of us could have accomplished alone. And that led to our first major client and the foundation of the community. And it's these sorts of micro, stories that I want to share with you guys to let you know that whatever you're building, whatever you're doing, you do need partners. You need to collaborate with other people. And it's a tough message. I get it. And I know it feels hard today. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why does it even feel hard today? Because people have been burned, right? You've probably had moments where you gave too much and you got too little in return. It certainly happened to me many more times than I would like to admit. Or maybe you tried to partner with someone who wasn't really aligned and they ended up, taking something that you had built and you were left cleaning up the mess. Yeah, I've been there for sure. I've tried to collaborate with a number of different partners and sometimes there's just not alignment. The good thing is that you need to find out early on. And so the important part is knowing what is your vision, what is your mission, and sticking to that in a way that is super clear. And you have to prioritize alignment. If you see somebody that prioritizes quick launches over quality and you're focused on quality, that is not the partner for you, right? If you are focused on compliance and credibility and trust, and they're trying to, get rich overnight and just, sell people a dream and take the money and run, that's not alignment. That is not the partner for you. Look at the WeWork story. Adam Newman had a big vision, but the collaboration structure was fundamentally flawed. The company nearly collapsed because partnerships weren't built on sustainable shared values. And of course, there were other reasons why it didn't work, but that was one of the key reasons. In a world that rewards loudness and hustle and, the bro culture, collaboration can feel too slow. It can feel quiet. It can feel forced, but you have to be strategic. It is a long game. Collaboration isn't flashy. It's not about putting a deck together and pushing it in front of someone and seeing how much money you can get, right? That's not what collaboration is. And I also thought collaboration was that, but it's not, right? It's consistent, it's intentional, and it doesn't always give you the mic, but it does give you a seat at the table. The most successful business partnerships I've seen are the ones like between Chip and Joanna Gaines, right? They're not racing to outshine each other. They're building an empire by amplifying each other's strengths. And that's collaboration with staying power. So, out of everything I've said today, I urge you guys to focus on collaboration that is aligned with your vision, but also you've got to be patient and you've got to be consistent and you've got to be intentional. So, how do you get there? How do you shift your mindset? You have to go from what can I get to what can we build together? And that is so hard for people because everyone wants to think in this transactional way. Like, if I work on this piece, what am I going to get? Right? If I do this, what am I going to get by the end of the month? And it's funny because when I launched BiteBow, I knew I didn't want it to be just another company. I wanted to create opportunities for other women and for other underrepresented founders, people in tech, people who wanted to be entrepreneurs, people who wanted to kind of get in and get that opportunity, but they were not able to for one reason or another. So that meant being clear on the mission, right? Being open to other people's genius. The first thing to do that is you have to understand that you do not have all the answers. Sometimes you have to take a step back. Let me give you a concrete example. So I'm on TikTok a lot. And in fact, some of you probably know me from TikTok. I, connect with people all the time. I connected with a very young university student in Myanmar. And she's telling me, she's like, look, this part about your socials is not good. You need to change this. You need to change that. And for most people to hear this kind of criticism coming from someone who's so junior, you would probably feel shocked. You would be like, wow. But no, she's right. A lot of my things that I do on social media, even I look at it and I'm like, we could have done better, right? So I'd rather listen to someone like that, someone who is close to social media, someone it's more in her culture than mine. I mean, we are generations apart, probably, or decades apart. But the reality is that you have to take advice and you have to collab and partner with people that know things more than you, right? Look at how Microsoft transformed under Satya Nadella. He shifted from viewing competitors as enemies to potential collaborators. They put Office on iOS, they partnered with Linux, they embraced open source, and that collaborative mindset has added hundreds of billions of dollars to their market value. Collaboration is not about control, guys. It's about co-creation. And I even thought about this when I'm building out the Bite Bow community. Right now, we have a WhatsApp group, a WhatsApp community. You can join. I'll put the link in the description below. But the reason for that is to bring in all of these great minds and get comfortable with sharing the credit. You have to stay open to feedback. You have to know when to lead and when to listen. And I think many founders today, many entrepreneurs have a problem with knowing when to listen. But when you learn when to listen, that's when the transformation happens, right? And you've got to do it. There's actually no way around it. There really is not. It is a skill that you have to have. If you're building any business, you have to have that skill. So let's get practical. How do you actually do this? Right? How do you start by listening? Real listening. Firstly, you don't jump into someone's inbox with an ask, right? A lot of people do that. They just send an email out, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this. Look, you got to start with supporting. You have to give before you can get. I spent my first 3 months in Dubai just attending events, asking questions, and offering help where I could. Even in remote Web3 projects, I wanted to be like the Web3 lawyer, getting in and offering support. But before I even pitched ByteBow, I understood the ecosystem. I understood that in the Web3 space or in the blockchain space, a lot of people are building because they believe in a vision, right? And you have to kind of pick up your shovel and you got to dig, right? You got to start working too before you can get to that ask. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to get clear on your values. If you don't know what you stand for, that is just a recipe for disaster. You'll say yes to the wrong people. You'll say yes to the wrong projects. I'm laughing because I've been there, and trust me, it slows you down more than being alone ever could. It can ultimately just derail you and destroy you. So I have a set of values. I think community is a huge value. I think diversity, I think culture, all of these things are huge values for me. And if there isn't at least an 80% alignment, I do not move forward with partners, no matter how big the opportunity. Look at Ben and Jerry's. They do this brilliantly. They only partner with suppliers and organizations that align with their social mission, right? Ben and Jerry's is like the ultimate activist uh, corporation or business. It's limited some opportunities, but it's created an unshakable brand that actually stands for something, right? So you have to give first. You have to show up and give first. Collaboration is not transactional. You get to show up, you get to offer value, and you have to be consistent. So within ByteBow, this is what we're doing, right? You all know the Jamelia Greer Show. That's my way of showing you these amazing entrepreneurs that are doing some amazing things all around the world, right? Men, women, people in Nigeria, people who are students, people who are in Singapore, people who are in Hong Kong. We're going to be going to the US the end of this year too. I want to show you all of that. That's the Jamelia Greer Show. But even within ByteBow, we have monthly workshops and webinars. We're going to start bringing people in. You need to see the experts and see the expertise. We want things to evolve and for you to kind of come in and have a seat at the table. And when you start doing this for your own business, remember, you don't have to be so formal. It's just about consistency, right? It's consistency and it's about showing up. And trust me, when you start giving, when you start putting your skills out there and raising your hand and saying, hey, I can do this, you will be brought into the fold and you'll understand partnerships a lot better, for sure. Right. And it can be as simple as reaching out to someone on LinkedIn and saying, hey, I saw that you were doing X, Y, and Z, and I think I could help. Right. So put yourself out there. But I would say a caveat to that is like, don't be afraid to leave. Don't be afraid to say it's not working, if it's draining you, if it's misaligned, or if you think you're being taken advantage of. It's okay to walk away. That's not failure. That's leadership. I think Netflix really does this good. And Netflix talks about the fact that they say we're a team, we're not a family. When collaboration isn't working, they can make a break. And I think that so many people have a hard time cutting ties and making a break. And I know it sounds harsh, and you're like, Jamelia, but it really does allow you to be one of the most innovative companies if you know how to do that. Okay. So, first of all, I would say as you're doing this in your journey, you do have to kind of think about how do you know if your collaborative efforts are working? Okay. So, let me share a framework that I like to use. First, you need to measure your shared outcomes, right? So, not just individual contributions. A true collaboration should produce results that neither party could achieve alone. So, when we partnered with an ed tech firm last year, we set some metrics. We set metrics that were important to them and then metrics that were important to us. And we both were aligned before we even began. And as we continued along the partnership every month, we did check ins, we had reports, and we all had open communication. That's really important. Next, you need to evaluate the knowledge transfer. So, great collaborations make both parties smarter. Things like accelerators and workshops and webinars that are cross transferring skills and knowledge are really helpful. So, I would say if you can, try to get that into place as well. And then third, you need to assess the relationship regularly, like really have to do check-ins. Even if you feel like there's not something that's really important to say, get on that call, right? Make sure that you have that open communication line, because if you don't, when and if something does go wrong, it's going to be such a huge challenge to get through it. And let me tell you, this is a practice that has saved so many partnerships of ours. And of course, I'm a communicator. I'm always over communicating, but really it's just a matter of making sure that you know what's going on their end and they know what's going on your end and that everything is aligned. Okay. And remember, partnerships are supposed to last decades, not quarters. Things are supposed to move in a way that's beneficial for both, but it's not supposed to happen overnight. So I need you to take a moment to think, who's in your circle right now? Who supports you? Who challenges you? Who drains you? It could be an individual or a company, right? What inspires you? You don't need 100 people. You need the right 5 people. I would say get the right 5 people in your circle for partnerships, and you will see a big change. So get into that season of building your circle right now. And here's my challenge for you. Identify one potential collaboration that could transform your business. Reach out this week, not with a pitch, but an offer to help. Offer to help them and help them grow. And if you can, share this episode with someone you'd love to collaborate with. Tag them, DM them, start the conversation, because in a world that's obsessed with me, we need to start choosing we and make it an intentional act. And so if you like this episode, for additional resources, I invite you to join our WhatsApp community with ByteBow. We have resources about how to build partnerships, frameworks, evaluations, things that we have been refining over a period of time. And I would love to build together with you. So until next time, keep dreaming big and keep showing up. Take care, guys.